Hey guys, welcome back. So today I want to talk about bolt action rifles, but don't tune out. This should be a very fun video for you guys. Bolt action rifles have been around since about 1824. A gentleman by the name of Johann von Dreyse, and I may have butchered his name, came up with a bolt action rifle in 1824. And since then, they became very popular, obviously, in military world. World War I was primarily fought with bolt action rifles. Even in World War II, bolt action rifles were still in common use by many nations. Japan, England, Germany, even the United States still had the 1903 Springfield in service. So the bolt action rifle has been around for a long time, both in the civilian world and the military world. And it's just a fun rifle to shoot. But bolt action rifles have evolved, and I want to talk about what was cool when I was a young man and talk about what a modern bolt action looks like. And even though it still has basically the same components and the same action, a lot of things have changed, and today's bolt actions aren't your grandpappy's bolt actions. Now, I've brought out of my safe a rifle, which is the Steyr SSG 69. Steyr produced these from 1969 until about 2015 when they finally ceased production. They are very common in Europe. They were used as military sniper rifles. Lots of law enforcement agencies globally use them. This is considered the gold standard of bolt action rifles from 1969 through the 80s. When I was a kid in the 80s, I wanted a Steyr 69, SSG 69, because this thing was just amazing in its accuracy potential. And this particular one has a set trigger, which is an old concept you don't see in much use anymore. But we're going to do a little bit of shooting with this rifle. Then we're going to show you some modern rifles that have been produced by Definitive Arms that really kind of take it to the next level. Now, if you take a look at the rifle that I have here, when I have the weapon in my shoulder, you'll notice the line of bore is high. It's not truly in line with my shoulder, which is down here, right? So you have the center of bore up here and the center of my shoulder down here. Well, when this thing recoils, because it's above that center line of your shoulder, it's going to tend to want to jump. The muzzle's going to want to jump, right? And so everybody's trying to get that center of bore in line with the shoulder. The M16 is a perfect example of that. Eugene Stoner designed that element into the AR-10, and then it wound up obviously being used in the M16. So bolt action rifles could also benefit from that particular design. Now, the SSG 69 that I have here, I do have a full video on this rifle that's a Patreon only video. Guys, we are supported by you, our viewing audience. We don't take money from the gun companies. We're supported by our audience so we can be as objective as humanly possible and honest as humanly possible. There's a link in the video description below if you'd like to become part of our Patreon family and learn more about this SSG 69. It also uses an early rotary magazine that would be very similar in concept to the Ruger 1022. It's a polymer magazine with clear polymer in the rear, so you can see how many rounds you have. It's a 5-round magazine. Now, this rifle's capable of incredible accuracy. Using Federal Gold Medal match today, when we were just out screwing around, we're shooting 3-shot groups, guys, because we're running out of ammunition just like everybody else. But we shot a 3-shot group that was like, I think, 0.3 inches center to center. And that's the type of accuracy you can expect from rifles like this. And yes, it's a mass-produced rifle. So let's do a little bit of shooting with the SSG. Fire 3 shots here really quick for you. And then let's take a look at the DASA. We have several different versions of the DASA out here and talk about how modern bolt actions have evolved. If you're wondering about the hearing protection I'm wearing, it's called Auto, and it's a really cool setup. Has a rechargeable station here and a cleaning kit to keep the ears going. And I requested these from my friends over at Optics Planet to try them out, because in the winter I wear stocking caps, things like that, and that can break the seal of traditional hearing protection. I've been using these for about a week now. I really enjoy them, and I do believe we have a discount code for Optics Planet in the video description down there, but I knew you guys are probably going to ask me what I have stuck in my ears. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and shoot out to 200 yards. Now, this is a Swarovski 3x9 scope. This would have been very common in, say, like the 1980s and early 1990s, having a 3x9 variable magnification. So I have it cranked up all the way, and it has a duplex reticle. Keep in mind, modern reticles like the H59 or, mil reticles, they didn't come into common use until, much later. Certainly when this rifle was around, they weren't in common use. All right, so let's see what we can do to Mr. 200 here. Now, the cool thing about this rifle, it has a set trigger, so without setting the trigger, it has about a 2-pound trigger pull. With the set trigger, it's about a 5-ounce trigger pull. So right here, the rear trigger is the set trigger. So when you pull this, now that makes that front trigger literally 5 ounces. You touch it and the gun goes off. Literally breathe on it light. 5 ounces may sound like it's heavy, but it is just literally touching it. So you get the gun on target, get your finger ready, and literally just touch it and it goes off. The action, buttery smooth on this bad boy. It takes a lot of getting used to a set trigger. You don't see them in common use anymore. What a sweetheart, guys. Easily a sub-minute gun. This gun has never shot over 1 inch with match ammunition. It typically hovers between 0.3 to 0.8 inches. But yeah, let's take a look at some of these DASA rifles and talk about how much bolt-action rifles have changed, and actually for the better. Guys, please swing by and check out Big Daddy Unlimited, BDU. They help support us here at the Military Arms channel with products and things like that so we can continue to bring you content. There's a link in the video description down below that'll take you to the Mac blog and website. Please follow that link, and from there you'll find a link to Big Daddy Unlimited, and try them out just for 99 cents. You can see what they're all about. In essence, they're just like a big online store that has amazing prices. So please, again, check out BDU. Let's talk about the magazines and how they work with the DASA, because there's quite a few options here that you're not going to find on very many bolt-action rifles. So this rifle, when you had seen it previously in previous videos, would have had a standard foreplate that was non-removable. It would just be a standard Model 700 foreplate. And I should also mention this is a Trude Model 700 Action, and it is actually a Remington barrel that that Chase also recrowned and all that good stuff to get the best accuracy out of it. I actually do like the Model 700 Actions. Anyway, so you have this capability of running just a standard floor plate, which this rifle previously had, or you can use one of the Definitive Arms AICS magazine conversions, which allows you to use standard, again, AICS mags. And these come in various capacities. They're single stack. They feed very well, so they don't booger up the bullet when it's going into the chamber. So you can get like a 5-rounder here, or you can get a 10-rounder, and that's a really nice option. The release is present on both sides of the trigger guard, and the magazines will drop right out when you press the button. You can also just go with the standard fixed magazine if you'd like, versus just the flush floor plate. So you have a number of different magazine options out there. As we come back, if you remember when I opened up the video and I was talking about the SSG 69, how that bore sat above my shoulder. Well, in the case of the DASA, you'll notice that the action is sitting very low. The stock sets fairly high, and when the bolt comes back, it comes straight back into the stock. The stock that I have on here is a Magpul PRS, but you can put a collapsible stock on there, a B5 if you want, something like that. It's a standard AR-15 extension tube here, buffer tube. And again, the bolt comes back into it. And that gives you an idea of just how much inline it is, because again, it's just like the AR-15. What's also nice about the DASA, and because it sets so low and comes back into this standard buffer tube, is that when you're on the gun you're shooting, when you run the bolt, you don't have to worry about, you know, moving your head out of the way with rifles like the K31, a military rifle with its straight pull action. That action's so close to your face and setting high that when you pull that bolt back, you kind of have to move your face out of the way and go back. With this gun, you can fire, stay on target, run the action, and then go right back to shooting, and you have this bolt coming nowhere near the shooter's face. What's also nice is that with the 700, this is a very familiar safety for me. That does not change with the DASA. And so it's right here. Now you'll notice they have a relief cut here on the chassis, and it kind of allows you to grip the gun. It's very common these days, and I've started doing it as well, to not do the thumb over the pistol grip, but to put the fingers in front and lay the thumb along the side of the receiver, so you're not pinching or forcing the rifle in any way. And so when you do that with the DASA, you'll notice that my thumb lays naturally right there, and then I can reach forward, put it on fire, reach forward, pull it back onto safe. And when under recoil, it's in such a good position that, you know, with 308, or even if you're using a really heavy recoiling rifle, you're still far enough away from the rear of the bolt and that safety that when the gun recoils, it's not going to hit you in the tip of the thumb. If you ever had that happen, it can hurt pretty bad. So yeah, I really like the low center of bore and the fact that I can run the action of the rifle and not have to move my face out of the way. But there's another really key component to this system that really sets it apart from the competition. I've already talked about the fact that this is a standard extension tube back here, and you can put whatever AR-15 style stock you want on it, collapsible or PRS or whatever you can think of. But notice this pin right here. So you lift this pin up, and it's tight, so there's no wobble whatsoever. Put a little bit of pressure on it, lift that pin up, and now the entire stock assembly will fold to the side. Now there's a detent ball that's going to keep it there. It's not meant to be fired from this position, simply stored in this position. So even though this rifle has over a 20-inch barrel on it, I can fold that PRS stock, or if I had a collapsible stock on it, make this a very small, handy little rifle for getting in and out of blinds and things like that if I wanted to use it for hunting. And if you want to re-extend the stock, just fold it over, apply a little bit of pressure, push that pin down, and it locks that stock firmly in place. Again, there's no play, and right there you can see the detent ball that holds it in the folded position. Now, another thing that's become more and more common these days, there's been probably in the last decade or so a real push for people to start using silencers. Bolt guns and silencers go together wonderfully. They're hearing safe because with gas guns you have gas coming back down the barrel that comes out the ejection port. We call it port pop, and it can really ring your ear pretty badly. But if you're running a standard baffled can on a bolt gun, it's very quiet and typically quite hearing safe for the shooter to run even heavier calibers like 6.5 Creedmoor or even 300 Win Mag. And so, of course, chase, like I said, make sure that the threads on the barrels are concentric to bore. I have a Griffin Armament 2-chamber brake on there, and this is a 6.5 Creedmoor Griffin Armament Explorer suppressor. And it has a taper shoulder mount, so you just kind of snug it and it won't back off under use. And to load up this particular rifle, I just drop out my magazine, put in a few rounds. I am using some Federal gold metal, and this is some 140 grain stuff. This rifle really likes the 140 grain Federal gold metal jacket. I want to thank our friends over at Federal for supplying this ammunition free of charge to the channel. It would be one of our highest recurring costs, ammunition, and it's a tremendous help, and Federal supports us, and I can't thank them enough for doing that. All right, so you just stick your magazine in, and the weapon is currently on safe. I'm going to set it down into the rest here. I know you guys are going to ask me what this bag is, and me and Jason were kind of chuckling about this. You make such a cool product, you think you'd put your company name on it. I've had it for so long, I forgot who the company is that makes it, but it basically has a pump ball on it, and you can see as I pump, it's adding air to the bag for the rear bag, so it gives you very precise capabilities of getting that elevation on the rear of the stock support just right. If you want to let air out, you just turn this and push on the bag, and it bleeds air out of the bag. So I wish I could tell you if I can find it. I'll put a link in the video description below, but I absolutely love using that. The front bag is just a Caldwell bag, and the table we're using is a Caldwell stable table. All right, so let's do a little bit of shooting. I want to stretch her out to 250 yards. Should be right around a 1 mil hold. I got rounds in there, yep. And again, just like my Bagara that I love, you sometimes have to stick your finger up there to make sure you have a round, because this action is so smooth, you just simply can't feel it picking up a round. It's buttery smooth, which means the round isn't hanging up on anything and potentially putting a line or marking that bullet or doing something that would interfere with the accuracy capabilities of the firearm. Now we've measured this trigger pull right around 4 pounds, and I actually like a slightly heavier trigger pull like that. We have a challenge steel target at 250. Going to do a 1 mil hold, center of mass. Not really have to worry about too much wind with the Creedmoor at this distance. with that inline bore, when the rifle recoils, it does not move so much that I can't see my own shots. So I can actually see my own splash because the recoil with the 6.5 Creedmoor with this rifle is such that I can actually, when it recoils, I still can see through the scope. It doesn't jump off target, and I can actually watch the splash and see the bullet hit downrange. Absolutely beautiful. So we've taken a look at that in 6.5 Creedmoor. Let me show you another rifle that I had Chase build for me in 308. 308 is a very common caliber, obviously, for hunting. 6.5 Creedmoor is one of my favorites for anything past 800 yards. But most of the hunting I do is right around 200 yards, and 308 has a large bullet selection, and it's a very common caliber, and who doesn't want a 308 bolt action? So let's take a look at the DASA in 308. And 308 is one of those calibers that I will always have. As a military caliber, I have a large military rifle collection. I just love 308. I think there are better calibers like 6.5 Creedmoor, but you can't deny that 308 just makes a lot of sense for a lot of hunters. And this I had set up specifically for hunting. I don't typically take shots past 200 yards. I'm perfectly capable of doing that, but I go for ethical shots. And I do primarily deer hunting, so this year I'll probably take maybe 3 deer or maybe 4 deer in the state, depending on how lucky I get. And a rifle like this serves me perfectly well. And another reason you might want to consider 308 is because there's a lot of it out there in terms of whatever gun store you go to, you're always going to find 308. We're almost getting there with 6.5 Creedmoor, but there's no doubt that 308 is one of the most common calibers in the United States, and I've certainly put more critters in the dirt with 308 than probably any other caliber in my life. Now, if you take a look at this particular rifle, my 6.5 Creedmoor, I had it all flat dark earth and Cerakote. This one, and it has a 22-inch barrel. This one is a heavy profile barrel. I like a heavier profile barrel for accuracy, but this one's a 16-inch barrel. Again, we have a Griffin armament suppressor on the end. So 16-inch barrel, again, I'm looking at shooting well inside 500 yards. I don't need that extra barrel length. So when I take advantage of the DASA's capabilities of folding its stock, it becomes an even smaller and handier firearm for getting in and out of blinds, getting up in a deer stand, whatever you may want to do. I've also opted this time to go with the B5 stock, which allows me to adjust that length of pull, and you can see where we have just a standard M4 type buffer tube on the rifle. I have the same AR style pistol grip, which is kind of vertical, and this one has a standard Model 700, kind of a traditional, let me hit the, where's my little button there? There we go. It's black. I can't see it where it pops open. So it's just a traditional Model 700 bottom plate. So that's the difference between the AICS mag and, of course, using a standard Model 700 style bottom plate. Now, if I want to convert this to the AICS, it's very easily done. So I can easily put that magazine system in here if I choose to do so. So instead of loading through the magazine, you load through the top. I want to thank a viewer because we have some really awesome viewers and supporters on Patreon and places like that. A viewer sent me some of this Hornady tap ammunition to shoot in video, and I want to thank you, man, for doing that. You know, I love our viewers, and our Patreons are the best. And so we're going to do a little bit of shooting here with 168 grain tap ammunition. This is tactical application police ammo from Hornady. All right, or Hornady, I don't know. You guys always get on me about that. We'll put 3 rounds in there. Again, nice buttery smooth action. And we'll go back out to 250. I should be able to, about a 1 mil hold should do it. The scope I have on here, this is an Athlon scope, and using these quite a bit. We carry them at Copper Custom. You'll also notice this one is using an AR style crane mount, which is Midwest Industries with quick detach capabilities. Safety lever, exact same spot as the last one. Again, even in 308, you know, I just get a little bit more air in there. This thing is just such a sweet shooting rifle. I love, again, that rest where I can put my thumb right there along the receiver, right there behind the safety. Just a true pleasure to shoot. Now, a lot of times when I'm shooting for groups, because if you have a favorite bolt action rifle or precision rifle that you shoot, put some rounds in the magazine, feed those rounds to the gun, then take a close look at the bullet and see if the feed ramp is putting any tiny lines into the round itself. If you see marks on that round, you're potentially doing damage to the accuracy. You're reducing it. So a lot of times when I'm shooting bolt actions, I like to shoot single rounds and load them, and that's why using a bottom plate like this gives me a low profile, and if I'm just using a single round at a time, it's easily done. Yep, and I like the work that Chase does to the bolt handles here. I think it looks sharp. I had copper Cerakote it with black and flat dark earth instead of all flat dark earth, and I really think I like the black accents a lot better. Such great rifles. Now let's take a look at an oddball. You know I like AKs, you know I like the by 39 calibers, and Chase made a rifle. It's not mine, it's his, but we have it out here this afternoon to show you something. I think you're going to find it's pretty cool. So this one is really cool. This is a prototype, so it's one of one right now, but they being Definitive Arms, plan to go into production with it. And it chambers 5.45 by 39. Now, unfortunately, because of the current situation with ammunition, I can't find any, what would you say, match ammo. Hornady has done 5.45 in the past, but we're kind of stuck shooting what I have on hand, and we've tried Golden Tiger and all the other stuff, and the Red Army Standard seems to give us the best performance. Today, its group that we put down with it was, I think, 1.6 inches at 100 yards. So this will probably become a production item. On the bottom, Chase just had this mag well sitting around. The release is on the front, and it says Legacy Sports, distributed by Legacy Sports, but what he told me is that the production guns will actually use AICS 223 magazines and not this system that you see here. But that just gives you an idea of just how modular this is. This is just some oddball thing that he had laying around that he was able to attach to his chassis system to use this magazine that he just found laying around in basically his junk bin. I think one of these in 7.62 by 39 would be really cool. He has one in 308, I'm sorry, in 300 blackout, and I've shot it, and that's actually a lot of fun. But I just think it's funny that here we have a precision weapon for 5.45 by 39. So I'll put 5 rounds in there, stick the mag in, and do a little bit of shooting here really quick. Now, it does have a Griffin armament muzzle device on it, but I'm not going to stick a can on it. We're just going to shoot it unsuppressed. One thing that's really interesting about the DASA, and this is not blowing smoke, this is actual fact. So the Definitive Arms has sent these out for testing and evaluation to several military units, Army and Naval. And so they're currently being, evaluated by militaries. And that doesn't mean he's going to get some major contract. I know everybody in the world claims that, but I know personally because I saw the guns go out. So I thought that was interesting. And they're interested in these because of their modularity with the AR-15, stuff like that, the inline and the shootability, the inline nature of the bolt and the shootability of the gun, and the folding stock seems to be popular with them. We also have sold, Copper does retail these. We have sold them to police teams and SWAT teams that are actually using them currently. So it's a really neat system, and if you ever get a chance to get your hands on one, it's words just don't do it justice. It's a really neat system. Gosh, that is so smooth. I can't even tell when it picks up around it. I have to double check. On top we have a primary arms scope that's just, I think it's a 1:6, yeah, 1:6 with an ACSS reticle in it. And we'll go back out to 200 with this one as well. Yeah, hate those lens covers. Zero recoil, guys. It's like the crack is louder than you would expect because the recoil is like 22 long rifle recoil. There is like no movement through the scope. You can so watch your splash on target downrange. So cool. Yeah, I've really come to appreciate the DASA rifle. It looks really sharp. I like the options with the magazines. I really love the fact that it's inline, sets low in the shoulder. It works with Model 700 systems with that folding stock capability. I've been shooting the things now for close to a year, and in terms of bolt action rifles, it really has held my interest, and I just wanted to see if it would, and it totally has. So what type of accuracy do we typically get out of the DASA rifles? So here we have the target of truth. The wand of wisdom is a bit wascally, and so I lost the last one and I have a new one. So up here on top we have some Federal 140 grain gold medal match fired from a DASA and in 6.5 Creedmoor, the rifle with a 22-inch barrel, and it's a 0.55-inch group. And yes, we're shooting 3-shot groups because we are feeling an ammo crunch. Even though Federal does supply us with ammunition, we haven't had a resupply in almost half a year, and so we're very short on ammo as well. So for the time being, we're not going to be doing mag dumps and probably not going to be shooting more than 3-shot groups when we do accuracy testing. So half an inch, okay, 3-shot group. But even with 5-shot groups, I've never seen my 6.5 gun with the 140 grain ammunition get even close to an inch. It'll stay under an inch, like 0.8 or so. It's probably the largest group I've ever seen with factory match ammunition. So down here with Federal 130 grain, this is with the Berger bullet, and that's out of the DASA. Again, 22-inch barrel, 6.5 Creedmoor, 3-shot group, 0.73 inches. I found that my gun definitely likes the 140 grainers, but we always test it with the 130s just to see what's going on. I opened up the video with the Steyr SSG69, just so you guys know, this was using 168 grain Federal gold medal match, and it's a 3-shot group, cloverleaf, 0.32 inches. That old gun still has the goods with that set trigger in 5 ounces. Jason tried the set trigger, and this is what we got. He had 2 rounds really close, starting to group like what I did up there, and then he accidentally breathed on the trigger before he was ready and had the flyer. That's why it says pulled set trigger. Jason doesn't like that light trigger. Over here, we have the Federal 140 grain gold medal match with the 6.5 Creedmoor and 22-inch barrel, and it's a 3-shot group, 0.41 of an inch. All right. Over here, this is the 140 grain Federal tack tip. This is some ammunition that Jason had. I don't typically shoot it, but a 3-shot group with the tack tip, has a little blue tip on it, is 0.68 of an inch. The DASA with the Red Army ammunition that's shooting a 59 grain projectile, 5.45 by 39, 3-shot group, 1.6 inches. Over here, we have the 140 grain, I think Jason was shooting over here, maybe me, I can't remember which, but this is Federal 140 grain gold medal match and 6.5 Creedmoor, and again we have 0.77 of an inch. With the 308 DASA, using some 168 grain ammunition, 3-shot group, 0.87 of an inch, and the other groups down here, we were just messing around with the SSG. So anyway, that'll give you an idea of the accuracy that I'm getting out of my DASA rifles with federal gold medal match. Typically, I shoot a lot of federal, but yeah, it does me well. So there you go, target truth, that's how they shoot. The next question you're probably going to have is, how much does a DASA cost? Well, that varies, but right now Copper has a handful in inventory and they're $19.79. The chassis system by itself is also available at times for $500, and you can just put it together on your own 700. But keep in mind, Remington's defunct at the moment, and getting 700 actions and stuff like that is going to be difficult for the time being. But there are some in stock. If you want to find out what's available, please call Copper. They're not listed on the website, and just see what they have in stock, or see if you can place an order for one. All right, guys, I think we've pretty much said everything we can say about the DASA rifle. I really enjoy shooting these things. I think this is kind of the, kind of the epitome of what a modern bolt action rifle could be, should be. PRS shooters are coming up with their own designs that are skeletonized and stuff like that, but I've just found the DASA to be one of the most practical designs, especially for myself in terms of using something for precision shooting, which I like to do for recreational and relaxation purposes, and also for hunting, which I do an awful lot of that as well. Guys, I really want to thank you for supporting us for the last 12 years. We are supported by you, our viewing audience, so you can support us over on Patreon. We have a link in the video description below. We do not take money from the gun manufacturers. We are supported by you, so please follow that link. Also, right here on YouTube, there's a little join button underneath the video you're watching right now. Click that join button and you can support us right here on YouTube. And of course, last but not least, please swing by and check out coppercustom.com. All right, guys, fire off the last few rounds here, and we will talk to you guys soon.